Om Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmani Ganataklesha Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. We just completed last week the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Geetā, called Akshara Brahma Yoga or Taraka Brahma Yoga, or one or two other names too. And in this class, we shall essentially do a quick review. What did we learn in this 8th chapter? First of all, the seeds of the entire 8th chapter's narration were sown at the end of the 7th chapter, when Lord Krishna himself had talked a little about some technical words and Adibhuta, Adiyajna, and so on. Therefore, the 8th chapter begins with Arjuna asking, what is this Adhyatma? What is Brahma? What is Adibhuta? What is Adiyajna? And above all, how are we to know you while dropping this body at the end of this life? How are we to move on with thought of yours? Tell me, O Shri Krishna. So, in essence, we may summarize the entire 8th chapter as nothing but answers to some 7 questions that Arjuna asks. But the question is, what are those questions? What is their significance? And what is especially emphasized in this Ashtama Adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Geetā? Broadly speaking, it seems to me that there are 4 areas of topics in this 8th chapter. The first one is where the technical terms are explained, how there is a certain Brahma, which is the truth of the entire universe, while everything in the universe changes, dies, perishes. What we see today will not exist tomorrow. Everything seems to be in flux. This Brahma alone is Akshara. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. And then, with regard to other words, Adhyatma is a word used to imply that Brahma itself as shining in everyone's bosom. And then, what is karma? Any action may be called karma elsewhere, but Sri Krishna says in this chapter, such karma that leads to the continuation of creation. New births take place. Jivatmas get an opportunity to get yet another body and then live one more lifespan, exhausting hopefully their bad karmas and earning hopefully some good karma. So they have an opportunity to ascend on the vertical scale of consciousness. So Brahma and Shobha, Adhyatma and Karma, and then Adibhuta, Adidaiva and Adiyajna. These are also answered. Adibhuta is whatever is constantly perishing. Adidaiva is again that spiritual principle which resides right in the midst of all those perishable things. And Adiyajna, the factor that oversees and presides over all Vedic sacrifices, Sri Krishna very assertively says, is I myself. adiyajnaha ahamevatra. But the most important part, I would say, in the first section, where I said broadly 4 topics. The first topic among the 4 is about the 7th question and its answer. How are we to ensure that we remember you, we think of you, we keep our consciousness at a certain height, not letting it go down, slip down to mere pursuit of sense pleasures, earning and spending, or in some likes and dislikes, some anger with somebody, some attachment to somebody else, and all that. How do we prevent our mind from falling down? How do we ensure that our mind is held high? And to that, Lord Krishna gives certain inspiring replies. First of all, he says, to remember me, which once more we interpret as keeping the mind in a higher consciousness. To remember God is very crucial because that decides the next life. Depending on what thought we have at the end of this life, last moment of our life, we will be born in some appropriate environment, an appropriate body of our own, and so on. That answers the question, but there are 2 other components. How are we to remember? And for that, it's okay to say, you please ensure that you remember God. And it's important. Okay, it's important. We will remember. But what if we become careless again? In order that we are not careless, to ensure that we are careful enough to, not even with effort, naturally, spontaneously think of God, it is essential that all the time, whenever possible, wherever possible, we must, all through our life, lift our mind Godward. Very near my house in Mumbai, there is a temple. Sometimes I visit that place, Swami Samarth Mandir, and Akkalkot Maharaj, Gundavale Maharaj, and a few other great saints are associated with that. More than Rama or Krishna, Shiva or Ganapati, there is the Murti or the big picture of those saints who actually, above all, emphasized Nama Japa. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Such temples are at many places. Bengaluru also. You have Brahma Chaitanya Maharaj Ashram right in South Bangalore. Recently, one more has come to light, or at least I got to know, and I could visit that place also near Tumkur and many places. Hubballi, of course, Hubballi, near Hubballi, there's one Hebballi, and there is one Avadhut ashram. There also, these saints who highlighted constant Nama Japa. Repeat God's name, repeat the mantra, for example, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. For that matter, Powai Forum has an ashram called Tasmai in Maharashtra, closer to Goa border, Kudal. And that Tasmai ashram, it has one building at present, not totally developed yet. From there, just 15 minutes you drive further in the village near Kudal, you find a beautiful ashram, a beautiful temple, really worth seeing, a place worth seeing for its architecture and the maintenance and so on, Sri Krishna Mandir. And there also, to give one more example, the emphasis is on constant remembrance of God by repeating his name or the mantra. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. I guess there could be other mantras also, but at many of these places, I found the mantra that is chosen, that is prescribed, that is given to new devotees also is Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Though Sri Krishna has not said Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, I can jolly well say that what Lord Krishna says in the seventh shloka. If you ask me, Swamiji, tell us one shloka from the entire eighth chapter which we shall remember and practice, I would recommend verse number 7. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha. No doubt you and I have responsibilities, many things to do. The list of tasks keeps growing and our time and our energy are less. With lot of work to do, duties to perform, Lord Krishna says, do your work, yudhyacha. Yudhyacha means yudhyasva. Yudhyasva means do your work. For Arjuna, it so happened Yuddha was his duty at that moment. But for you and me, whatever our own conscience says is our duty. So do your duty, but sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara. Remember me all the time. Your kama, your krodha, your lobha, your moha, your raga, your dvesha, your laziness, your lack of focus, your lack of motivation. Or some of you are already too motivated, too aggressive, too rajasic, too restless. In this world, it's all full of varieties. There are people who sleep a lot. And as though to compensate or neutralize that, in this very creation, there are many people who sleep so less. And some of them, though they sleep so less, maybe 3 hours at night, are very fresh whole day. That is another wonder. During the course that I taught in Mumbai, way back in 91 to 93, there was a student from Trinidad and Tobago. And he used to say to me and to his other friends, other classmates, that he was sleeping only 2.5 or maximum 3 hours at night. All the time he is awake. But he was very cheerful. He used to be the best singer in the whole batch of some 35 or 40 students. He would sing, he would joke, he would go around, do all his work. So, very interesting. Some sleep 8, 9, 10 hours. And on top of it, in the class also, they are sleepy. And then there are some who sleep so less. So, if you have an issue, I want to work more, I want to be more motivated, or I want to calm down, quieten down, I want to speak less, I want to let others speak, I want to develop hearing, listening, ability to listen. My habit has been not to let others speak and to go on saying things from my side. Suppose there are some among you who are like that. This remedy, the panacea for all these ills of unbalanced life, according to these masters, and which is an echo of verse 7 of this chapter is Mamanusmara Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu. Remember me all the time. One application of it is through the Namajapa. One could remember without any particular mantra too. You can imagine, you can visualize the presence of God without even uttering his name. But in our Indian tradition, uttering the name of God, Hari, 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 or Shiva, 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 Shambho, Shankara, and so on, it has been highlighted a lot. I have heard that in some Western traditions, in certain Christian traditions, there is an exhortation, a warning. Don't utter the name of God in vain. That is the instruction. What does it mean? Do not casually and what we call mechanically, without your being into what you are doing. Don't say God's name. Don't say, oh God, oh Shiva, oh Jesus, oh Mary or something. Never utter the name of God unless you are into it, unless you are conscious, unless you have actually a particular purpose. You are asking God for something. In your mind somewhere, don't utter. There is a spiritual instruction of that kind too. After all, in this world, spiritual practices are of many kinds. Just as there is idol worship, but some of the major religions of this world do not approve idol worship. They do not appreciate idol worship. And in Sanatana Dharma, we wonder what is their problem when we take an idol as a symbol, an idol as a support, as a stepping stone, an idol that helps us concentrate, idol that helps us bring our thoughts to God. What is their issue? We never say God is limited to that stone. We are not saying God is stone. God in Sanatana Dharma is all pervasive. God is everywhere and He is all powerful. This stone or this metal piece, of course, is not God in entirety. It's a symbol, and we do attach certain value. It's about it, so on. But they don't listen. They just hold on. That other day I heard that now maybe they are more aware. In olden days, the Britishers would be aghast. The Englishmen would be aghast to know that in India, when somebody dies, the son burns the father's body. You burn your own father's body? You burn his body? Your father who looked after you, who guided you, who raised you. And when he dies, you burn the body? They were aghast. They are not aghast with burying the body. This is called conditioning of the mind. So you are so much comfortable, so much at peace with putting the body in a box and closing the box, and then put the coffin under the earth, close it. Absolutely no conflict. But when they come to know that a large number of Hindus, not all, large number of Hindus burn the fathers or mothers or the body of the deceased, how can that be and so on? Loko bhinna ruchi. Coming back, this is the most important. Therefore, I am never tired of quoting Sri Ramakrishna, who said, when one hand of yours is at work, hold God with the second. As soon as your work is over, hold God with both the hands. What a sweet advice. Never leave God. Never go away from God. Become more and more God-minded. In your God consciousness, all problems of life become so tiny, they will be handled. You will realize that it's God only who does everything. Harihi Karta, Hari Bhokta. Therefore, if I may say, there are four main topics. The first one is constant remembrance of God. We are advised to think of God, become God-centered. Don't remain money-centered, don't remain pleasure-centered, don't remain enemy-centered, don't remain friend-centered, don't remain hobby-centered. There are so many other aspects of life which somehow become so dominant in our life. We just day and night think about that particular thing, like money. Day and night, some people think about money only. Day and night, some people want pleasures of various kinds, various kinds. Even if it is just tea or coffee. So many times I had a certain acquaintance When I lived in Bangalore at certain place once, there was some family over there. This man used to come once in a while, whether it is 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., 11 a.m. or 12 noon or 12:30. Then the member of the family would politely ask, "Ah, Mr. Rao, will you have a little coffee?" And I used to watch. This person, Rao, would never say no. But out of certain sankocha, that is hesitation, he would say, "Kalpa kodi, give me a little," he would say, and I would smile. I knew he would not say no. He would ask for Salpa. Salpa means a little. Thoda dijiye. And he would drink it with great relish. So 24 hours he was ready for Salpa coffee, a little coffee. So we are all like that, center, pleasure center. Of course, workaholics have to be mentioned here. Work center. Day and night some people work. They can't. So his list is very long. Talk centered. Some people, we don't know why, they continuously talk. Sometimes they talk even when they become so insensitive. Where was that? Once in Hyderabad, somebody brought their morning newspaper. I said, "Oh, very nice. I have not read Times of India for many days." I picked up. And I'm reading, and actually I'm very excited about some news. But the same fellow who brought the newspaper gives to me. I'm reading, but he's not letting me read. He's going on saying, "Oh, Swamiji, today we are going to go there and somebody is coming and should I read or should I listen to him?" After 2 minutes, I had to tell him, lower it and my dear friend, can you give me 5 minutes where I can at least read the headlines? Will you let me read the newspaper? You are telling things, asking questions. Oh, sorry. So they are so indifferent, so insensitive. Their talk center, their mind is so restless and they have to say it out, say it out, say it out. Very contradictory. But life is like that. They have their contradictions. You and I have our contradictions. Whose life is free from contradictions? Tell me. We live in contradictions. But spirituality is about ending those contradictions. It is about increased awareness. If I am giving the newspaper to somebody, or I myself give a document, that is even more serious. Sometimes I have such people also. They bring a document and they only say, "Swamiji, please go through it." And as I begin to go through it, they are talking about something else unrelated. So that is all because of brain having become too mechanical. If there is awareness, please note, awareness and being mechanical are antonyms. They are opposed to each other. If you are aware, even if you are doing something for the 100th time, number wise you have done 99 times, you are doing again 100th time. That's not mechanical. Mechanical is when you repeat something without awareness. When J. Krishnamurti was asked how to drop a habit, mechanical habit, he said, simple. What is your habit? There was something like, I don't remember exactly what, something like somebody had a habit of scratching his ears again and again, once in a while. So Krishnamurti said to him, the actual matter was, I think, something quite a little different, but something like that. He said, do one thing, lift your hand with full awareness. Lift your hand. Take your hand up. Are you aware of it? Yes. Further up. Aware of it? Yes. Take your hand to your ear. Are you aware of it? Yes. You feel the ear? You feel your scratching or yes. Do that with full awareness. Your habit has ended. He said like that. If you learn to live in awareness, there is no habit anymore. There's a technical issue. Something done or something repeated without awareness is habit. Something repeated with awareness in this dictionary or in this context is not a habit. To conclude that reference to J. Krishnamurti, one of his fascinating statements was, I have been doing yoga every morning last 40 years. I did not let it become a habit. Very thought-provoking. Every morning for 40 years you have done. You say it's not a habit. It's not a habit. What he meant was, he does his yogasana with full awareness. Full awareness. And the body, suppose, has some body pain, then he would reduce it. He would not force the body to do same amount of movements. Or one day the body is in excellent shape, he may do a little more too. That means awareness. Whereas in lack of awareness, we do things without even noticing. Like the man who thrust a newspaper into my hand and then is asking me questions without letting me read the newspaper. That means he is not aware that he is reading. I should give him some time. Then when he is available, I should ask the question. No. So, the shloka 7 is very powerful. Think of God all the time. Of course, maybe in the lectures also I did not bring the one issue. That's a very important issue which all Pravachakars say when they come to verse number 7. At least now in the summary I should mention. The doubt is raised. How can we do two things at the same time? Do work also and think of God also. There the answer given is, when you have terrible toothache and by evening you have to see a dentist. Morning, because of pressure of work, you are at office. You are doing some work. You are doing the work. Even though you are doing work, going through files, whatever, are you not constantly aware of the tooth pain? You constantly say, and anybody comes and says, Sir, are you not well, madam? Do you have some pain? Yeah. Today I have this toothache. Evening I am going there. Maybe he'll remove my tooth. You say, but again back to work. Like that, there are many examples given of that kind. You and I have the capacity to attend to work without forgetting God. God is not in conflict with doing the duty. Don't compare it with reading newspaper and having to answer somebody's questions also. It's not like that. Remembrance of God is a matter of lifting your consciousness to a higher level, and at that higher level of consciousness, you can do your work too. It's not like trying to do multiple pieces of work at the same time. So this one thing at a time is in that way an interesting topic. I believe there was a professor who gave a big lecture on how it is important to do one thing at a time. Never do two things at the same time and so on. But next morning at the cafeteria of the university, some students saw him enjoying coffee and reading newspaper. So a student went up to him and said, Sir, yesterday you told us not to do two things, but we find you having coffee, eating a bagel, and also reading newspaper. The professor looked up and smiled and said, for me, coffee, bagel, and newspaper together are one. So I am doing only one thing. And he got back to his reading paper and drinking. So what you define as one, though there is some mischief also in this example, but everybody should judge oneself. Are you deceiving yourself or are you really at peace with handling two or three things at the same time? After all, God gives abilities to different degrees to different people. Some of us may be able to do two or three things at the same time, which is very different from doing two or three things out of certain fear, certain restlessness, or certain fear, certain negativities, then it is certainly not advised. Having said this is the main topic, as I already told you. In the entire chapter, if you were to choose one shloka, it's 8.7. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha mayyarpita manobuddhihi mame vaishyasya asamshaya. Now to quickly cover the three other topics. The second main topic of this 8th chapter is what is called upasana. Also, it answers the issue of how do we ensure that we remember you at the time of dying. One is already said, in order that you remember God at the time of dying, remember Him all through life. Right? That also already has been said. Another is how. How do I think of God? How do I meditate on God? How do I bring God into my mind? Therefore, the verses 8 onwards, it is said, Abhyasa Yoga. This is how you must practice. Visualize God as all knowing. Visualize God as the ruler of the universe. He is smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. He is beyond all darkness. And while God is to be understood in this way, make some preparation for yourself also. Make your mind steady. Fix your attention to the point between two eyebrows and practice this. Enhance the quality of your devotion. Make your mind steady. It is you who spoilt your mind in the olden days. Now bring it back to order. Bring the mind again to steadiness, single pointedness, and so on. And then this upasana can also take the form of repeating Om. Om ityekaksharam brahma vyaharan manusmaran. So, certain instructions of how to sit, how to concentrate, what to think of, what the glory of that object of meditation is, etc., is all given. That is Upasana Nirupanam or Upasana Varnanam, description, how meditation practice has to be done. In a sense, the chapter 6 had a lot of details about meditation. And now chapter 8 also has a few verses that describe meditation. And meditation, which is not about the non-dual Brahma, is called Upasana. Meditation, which is letting go of duality, is the Jnana. Jnana and Dhyana. Jnana is where there is the input of the non-duality. And dhyana, upasana, karma, vidya, many words are used. So it's all a matter of quality. You may say, Aham Brahmasmi. You may say, but in quality of your understanding is you are only enjoying the Sanskrit part of it. You very much are anchored in sense of duality. Aham Brahmasmi, you may say the words, but actually you are praying God, God, bless me, ensure that I pass tomorrow's examination. Aham Brahmasmi. God, please see that my financial difficulties are gone. Aham Brahmasmi. So, either because you have not studied enough Vedanta, or you have studied but you have not been able to get a handle on it, you say Vedantic statements, but the quality of your consciousness is way below where it ought to be. Therefore, what is called Brahma Dhyana, what is called Atma Dhyana, actually may be just dualistic prayers. You are begging God for something or the other. Whereas, when you have true understanding and Shama, Dama, Viveka, Vairagya have blossomed, you are fit. Then to say Aham Brahmasmi, he is at once letting go of the last traces of your individuality. Then it is pure dhyana, pure nididhyasana. What Yajnavalkya says to Maitreyi in those words, Atmava are drashtavyaha. One must know God. How? Shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. So there you have Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. That Nididhyasana marked by tremendous clarity as well as abidance in that understanding of non-duality is a cut above hundreds of other meditations. Those hundreds of other meditations are upasanas, though they may be called dhyana. I am doing dhyana. Half an hour every morning I do dhyana, one may claim. But one should examine, is this person who is claiming, is this person actually letting go of his or her individuality? Or is this person strengthening her individuality by asking for something? The moment you ask for something either gross or subtle, physical or mental, anything, the moment you ask for something, then you have reinforced your individuality. Because if you are Brahma, Brahma doesn't need a bigger house. Brahma doesn't need more money in the bank. Brahma doesn't need even so-called spiritual progress. Brahma is avyaya. Brahma is ever established. Brahma is swayam siddha. Brahma doesn't need anything. But the moment a tiny God, I don't want anything material, give me more bhakti, more vairagya, more shamadama, then also there is duality. Therefore, Maharshi Ramana would especially say, you want self-realization? It's not about doing anything, just be. Be. Nishtha. Stay firmly as the pure self. To stay pure, to stay firmly as the pure self means there is no room, there is no scope for some desires to be expressed. So that was the second part. So we're running into several mantras, several shlokas, I should say. It goes into certain description, certain amount of putting down various essential components of upasana or meditation, whatever you call it. And then third and fourth are, the third one is about impermanence of everything in life. Impermanence. The best of times also do not last forever. Thank God, the bad times also do not last forever. Good times come and go, bad times come and go. And Sri Krishna uses the language like in 16th verse, Bhuloka, this earth, and so many other realms of existence. All of them are perishable. You go anywhere and don't think you will always be there. You return. You return. Punaravartinaha. So the impermanence of everything in this created universe is highlighted so that you may develop vairagya. Don't be attached to anything. The most valued relationships also, alas, have a beginning, have an end. Either A and B both are alive but they part for some reason. Or A and B are so intimately related that they don't want to part but one of them may die. Nobody is spared of death. Everybody dies. Then you are in the lurch. Therefore, understand the perishable nature. Therefore, on a collective, cosmic, in a macrocosmic manner, Sri Krishna talks about how the entire creation comes into being, stays for a little while, then dissolves away. All that is said, that could be considered the third part. And in the fourth part, there is some really fascinating description of the relativity of time. How one day of Brahma, the creator, Chaturmukha Brahma, we are not talking of Lord, the non-dual Brahma. Advaita Brahma is different from the Chaturmukha Brahma, member of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. That's Chaturmukha Brahma. So that Brahma's one day is millions and millions of years of human life. One night is again equal, millions and millions of years of human life. Therefore, these time scales are different. The time scales of humanity and of Lord Brahma are different. So we had dwelt on this. These are the four main topics, but I must quickly mention that in context of that last fourth topic, there is also mention of how when one has reached higher and higher consciousness levels, one does not return to the earth, one gets gradual liberation in Brahmaloka. Otherwise, even after enjoying heaven and everything, one comes back to the earth to further touch up one's own sadhana. All that is said in a related context, but the chapter ends. Chapter concludes with a clarion call for every one of us to become yogis. Yogi is the highest. In an earlier chapter, it had been said, Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna, become a yogi. Here at the end, at the last, it is said, yogi paramsthanam upait. Who is a yogi? Like we have been using a general expression. It's not anything particularly bhakti, jnana, yoga, or karma, etc. But by any of these, two of them, any three of them, or all four of them in some combination, somebody rises to a higher consciousness. He is yogi. Where dependence on mundane things, dependence on pleasures of the world, dependence on the glitter and glamour of the world, power, position, wealth, popularity, etc., mean nothing. Someone has risen to that great height that it is higher than lot of rewards mentioned. Vedeshu, Yajneshu, Tapassu Chaiva, Daneshu, Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam. Beautiful. In fact, the 28th verse deliberately, the last verse deliberately goes into a different meter. There were a couple of slokas in this chapter before also, in the longer meter, but deliberately, while a string of verses are in the shorter Anushtup meter, maybe more than 12 or 15, suddenly in the last verse goes to Trishtup meter. Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapassu Chaiva, 11 syllables, not 8. It is said, Atyeti Tat Sarvam. If you have risen to a higher level of consciousness, your mind is steady, you cannot be so easily disturbed by things of the world, then you have got what is otherwise described as the rewards in Vedic studies, in doing this yajna, that particular ritual, that particular karma, Vedic karma, and so on. Therefore, yogi bhava is the implied advice. So, broadly speaking, these are the four topics of this eighth chapter. Therefore, in itself, the eighth chapter is a feast to any spiritual seeker. And like we say it about many other chapters, if not all the chapters, can say it about all the chapters too. This eighth chapter by itself is enough of guidance on sadhana. Draw from each chapter, draw again and again. You have so much to pull out, so much to collect, so much to draw from chapter 8 alone. And that is enough for shaping our daily sadhana, daily interactions, daily relationships, to handle them all wisely to handle them all with greater maturity. The guidance given here is enough, provided we contemplate, reflect, and draw the right messages from these shlokas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Next week we will start the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva.